Namaskar and a very warm welcome to each one of you tuning into live on Educational Connect with DM. I, I am Divya Mehra, your host for today and the founder of the platform where real stories spark real inspiration. Let me now ask you something straight from the student's life from the diary. Okay, sorry for the technical glitch. Right. So let me ask you straight from the student's life diary. As you have joined here today, how many of you ever promised yourself just 5 minutes on Instagram and suddenly realized it was just been an hour? Yes, we have all been here, right? In the same state and the same position where we possibly face this difficulty. And today we are here to knock that out. But the bigger question is when board exams are being there around the corner, knocking at the door, can social media and studies actually go hand in hand? Or they are basically sworn enemies to each other? Well, today we are going to decode it exactly the same way. As we are joining today here, we really talk about what exactly is a student's perspective to studies and board exam. Think about it. Social media is just like a river, never stops flowing. A constant scroll, a constant pull. And on the other side, you have a board examination. They demand focus, discipline, and resilience. So, how do we balance the two? Do we cut off ourselves completely? I don't think so. Not possible. Or can we actually make social media work for us instead of going against us? So there are different ways, right? And that is where we need to discuss on that how we can do it. So we are here to help. Today's session is not just about giving up. It's about gaining control. It's about learning how to turn distractions into determination and how each challenge can become a stepping stone. So, welcome you all to today's discussion where we are going to be having a topper's talk on social media versus studies, how to stay focused and score a 95 plus. That's the aim for most of us, being in the boards category. Students have been striving and aiming to score well. In this journey, who could be better to guide us than someone who has lived this journey on herself, faced the same struggles, and she still has emerged as a topper? Yes, I'm talking about none other, Moli Singh Sikarwar.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Molly. It's really an honor and a joy that we have you here on this platform to discuss more about your journey and how it has become a success for you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much, Molly. A young achiever, a true model, more role model, and someone who proves that disciplines plus a smart strategy is going to become a success. So, Molly is going to be here with us sharing her journey. A little brief about her. Molly has been a Gwalior District Topper in ISC 2024-25 examinations and undoubtedly securing a phenomenal 98.25%. She is proudly been standing among the top 5 rank holders in Madhya Pradesh, and it's a great honor maintaining the kind of a discipline and the strategy to actually be at par. It's worth applause, and yes, the applauses should not stop. Currently, she has been pursuing and she is being the first year student for the University of Delhi. And we are really proud to have Molly with us. She represents a new generation of learners who balance academics, rigor with personal growth. What makes a journey truly special is not just the marks, but the mindset, the discipline, the resilience, the self belief that has been carried through her is one of the toughest phases of the student life. She's been admired for her time management, balanced approach to challenges, and an ability to inspire the peers at times when distractions like social media are everywhere. So maintaining that consistency along with this, it was a mark of a great respect, and yes, of course, a true inspiration for a student's life. So I really welcome Molly. Please join me in giving him a warm welcome to our rising star, an academic achiever and an inspiration for the students across the country. Moli Singh Sikarwar. The stage is all yours, Molly.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that introduction. Obviously, it's always nice to be praised by somebody. But I think we all are achievers in our own forte, like you yourself. I want to take a moment and appreciate you because Diviya, ma'am, she is the most responsive, committed, passionate persons I know, and like the most sweetest. Like you can like even message her in the middle of the night, and she'll always respond with a smile. She's always ready, and like she is the kind of mentor you're looking for, honestly. So
Thank
thank
you
you
so much,
so much
Molly.
for having me and thank you for praising me for the introduction that you beautifully curated.
You truly deserve it, Molly. You truly deserve it. And we are really honored. And I'm really proud that I could be a little bit a smaller part of your journey as well. So God bless you. Really good.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. To give a little brief about Molly more, it's been a proud journey that to see Molly being a district topper, and it's really proud that coming from a humanitarian stream where children really feel that it's a kind of a taboo to be going for humanities, she has been excelled and become a district topper with the same field. So at the same time maintaining her personal life, the kind of a discipline that she has, and the kind of the way she carries herself, it's beautiful, it's phenomenal. And that is why we really feel honored that she is here to guide the students and share her journey, because it's quite important for everybody to know how to maintain that balance. I would like to share a few pictures of Molly. She has been a proud alumni of the Neoteric World School. It's in Madhya Pradesh, Gwalior District. And across her journey, she has been, it's really proud to mention that apart from her academic excellence, she has also been a proud head girl, which is quite remarkable. Maintaining academics along with extra responsibilities is way, way important to maintain a balance in your life. We can have a little bit glimpse of her felicitations, and of course she been leading as a head girl, so I would really like to show here as an inspiration to the students and the viewers watching that how it is important to maintain that. It feels so honored that a journey that once began leading up as a head girl of the school has brought accolades to the school. Apart from it, you have been an academic achiever. That's such a remarkable and a true journey importance that basically have been there as a part of the school. So it's a really proud moment for the school as well. Molly has
Thank
been
you
the
so much.
head girl as well as the academic achiever. So that's it's really remarkable. And hearing from you today how to maintain that, I think really the audience is looking forward to it because it's important for everybody to know how this journey is difficult. What are the challenges that we face? Because we always see the success. We never see the kind of pain that it goes through. We never see the kind of sacrifices that it goes through. And to hear from you, that's quite important.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
would also really like to share Molly's felicitation for the board examination, post board examination. She was being felicitated by the school. And these are so few clippings of her journey as an achiever for her district topping in the school, in the district, and a proud moment and an achievement for the school. So we have the other toppers with Molly, the kind of pose and the kind of sincerity that we can see in her presence. We have the proud parent here for Molly. So, I mean, the district topper here, Molly's been sharing a moment with her mother. And I think nothing more prouder than specifically being there representing your school and your parents across the nation, just being outstanding in each and every way.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I think, Molly, this has been really incredible, and we're really proud of having you here. Without further ado, let's begin with what exactly we are here for, to discuss more about what is this journey, how it is important, and to hear from you exactly. So, as we discuss here today, Molly, we being a topper or a student with an academic achievement, it's always been a responsibility that every time it has been seen that you need to be represented with a lot of sincerity, and you do not have a personal life, or you're not supposed to be very social, or possibly you should not be basically having fun. That's a kind of a perception. Studies, academics, achievements is not being parallel to what exactly fun is, enjoyment is. So, as a student life, what are your views, and how do you think that we can talk about social media becoming a friend to us, or it can be a learning tool? How do we manage that, or is it important for us?
See, social media is a tool which is made by humans, and we humans always have authority over how we use it and how we function it. So I think social media, obviously, a main purpose is for entertainment. But apart from entertainment, I think it can be really, really helpful in your educational journey as well. I think there is nobody who is watching this, or there's nobody in the world right now who has not used social media or Google or YouTube for any educational purpose. And obviously, right now, the educational network is very dependent on social media. So studies necessarily do not have to be demarcated from social media, but actually we need to utilize it in a manner where we can actually make it really fruitful for us.
Correct. And that is where we are here to discuss, because it's important for everybody to know that how
Absolutely.
can we make social media a friend rather than basically being seeing as it is as an enemy. So
Yeah,
I think the parents also watching need to know this thing, that social media can be used in a number of ways and we can learn through it. And it's not just about
absolutely.
just publicizing about it.
Like we are connecting over social media right now. It's a very educational platform in the initiative that
Very
you've taken,
nice. True,
obviously.
true. Very nice. So, Molly, as we discuss about social media versus study, we talk about one word that is specifically discipline, right? So we need to maintain the discipline. When you've been studying, we've been performing well. So discipline sounds quite easy, but it's actually very tough to follow. It's not a very cakewalk to just say that yes, we can be disciplined and we can be achieving well. So what can be you mentioning about some simple habits or techniques possibly that has helped you stay consistent?
See, I think discipline is completely dependent on your mindset of what you want to be and what you want to achieve. So when I say discipline is your mindset, is that it is you who it's dependent on. So basically, nobody has time. You have to make time for it. Nobody has the energy. You need to make energy for it. You need to understand that this is you need to start evaluating your priorities accordingly, and that's when you eventually come to that ground zero, that okay, this is my priority, and that's why I have to be disciplined for it. And once that kind of mindset comes into you, it sets in, then your body just gets into that momentum that okay, now I have to put in that effort because I need to reach there.
So it's discipline as a first key rule that specifically is to be maintained. But at the same time, social media or basically being internet cannot be a distraction. We have to utilize that successfully. So
Absolutely.
as we talk about focus and success here, Molly, could you share a little bit more about you? that how personally did you deal with these distractions? Because when the exams were near, it's one of the most difficult times. And children here watching actually really want to hear from you that what have been your ways of strategizing and making the things way easier for your life.
Yeah, so like my first and the foremost, most important thing which I want to communicate today is that routine over a timetable. Routine is always better than having a timetable, because I've seen so many people who curate a timetable with, like strict timestamps that I need to wake up at this time, I need to do breakfast at this time, I need to study at this time for these many hours and everything. And usually, most of the time, like 90% of the time, you're not able to follow it more than 2 days. Let's be honest, and then we eventually lose that motivation. We eventually not doing end up doing nothing. So when we talk about a routine is not about having timestamps for doing anything. Routine is about, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, and I need to do this. I need to study, I need to sleep, and I need to eat. These are like the three foremost, most important, integral, essential part of my day. Once I'm done with them, if I have time left, then I can go, maybe watch some reels or scroll on social media, play with my friends, do anything else. But once you set into that routine, then your body actually starts getting this intrinsic motivation that it just becomes very habitual, it becomes very reflexive for you. So obviously I always and always and always preach this, that have a nice routine rather than having a strict timetable.
So, Molly, as you mentioned about maintaining a routine, is it important for us that we maintain a proper timeline? And do you also maintain a proper timeline for your own self?
I don't maintain a timeline, I maintain a sequence.
Okay.
So basically with me, like, it's not like that I sleep at like 10 a.m., 10 p.m. every single day, or 11 p.m. every single day. It's just that if I make sure that I take my 7 and 8 hours of sleep, and after that I continue the same sequence that, okay, I need to wake up, shower, I need to study, I need to eat, and then the sequence goes on. So it's not like, I'm going to deprive myself of my sleep because I need to wake up at 6 a.m. If I have slept at 12, then I'll wake up at 7. So that's just the kind of thing which I like want to put it out there, that follow a sequence in your routine, not a timestamp.
Very nice. So that is where, because when we become quite rigid with the time, usually it happens that possibly with another 1 week, we actually sometimes get hassled and we break the routine. And of course, then when it is been not in continuation, then it ought to become all the more it becomes a demotivation for us to be continuing that. So that's really
Absolutely.
important for us to be following. Yes, of course, the very rightly said that it should be in sequence. You should have a sequence of event, but if it is being not being followed in a particular way, sometimes we can actually be switching over the time also. But yes, of course, you should keep a check that yes, these are the things to be done. So, Molly, as you were talking about how been maintaining the discipline and maintaining a daily routine, and it's more important to maintain a routine than the timetable. It's very beautifully quoted by you here. So could you highlight a little bit how you have been maintaining it, a little bit more on that?
So basically, my routine used to be, um, I'll say, very loose. So I did not have timestamps, but I obviously had my study sessions. I had a morning session, then an afternoon session, and then an evening session. So that's what I maintained throughout my preparation. And obviously, personalization in your session is also very important, because obviously everybody is studying technique and their body adaptability. Nobody can, like, study in the same way. Everybody has their own pattern, and you have to figure out your own pattern by yourself. So for me, it was that I used to wake up, and I never ever ever went immediately into studying. I gave my mind that kind of time to refresh itself, maybe like have a walk in my balcony or something like that. Obviously, like, it's very 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 important to be connected with nature, because I think it just fills you with a lot of positive energy before you start studying. And after I've taken a walk in my balcony, I used to study 3 4 hours there, and then obviously I eat, shower, basically normal routine, and then another session of 3 4 hours in the afternoon, then again a break at like around 5 6, and then a night session. So I used to follow these patterns, and I used to make sure that I have these 3 sessions. But it's not like that I have to do the session from this PM to this AM to something like that. It's never like that.
That's really important also. So as you mentioned about maintaining the routine and the timetable, and we were going through this passage that yes, it's important to maintain along with an academic perspective as well. What are the effective strategies that you share? As we can see in note making here. So could you share that how it has really helped you strategize to streamline your academic progress?
Absolutely. So I've seen a lot of people who say that don't make notes and everything. I think note making is the process of studying itself. So, like, personally for me, I've seen whenever I make extensive notes about whatever I'm studying, is the process of note making which actually sits in my head and, like, sets the whole concept. I've seen so many people who ask me for my notes or ask somebody else for their notes. Like studying from somebody else's notes never gonna work for you because note making is a very personal activity in itself. I think, like every single student should like phase out their own method of note making. Like, specifically for me, what I followed, I had my own bullet points, I had my own arrows, which meant different things for me, obviously. So whenever I used to make notes, my notes never like, theoretical. They were never like I'm writing paragraphs and paragraphs. My notes used to have a lot of arrows. But it may not work for you, but it really worked for me. That I had a lot of arrows, a lot of bullet points, a lot of connotations, pointers, which only I could understand. So obviously note making, and obviously note making in different subjects is also different. So like you need to understand if you are studying a more empirical subject, more which has a lot of numericals like economics, then the note making has to be really loose. If you're studying something like psychology, then there has to be a lot of examples that you need to be written along with the note making, because in psychology the concept and the examples go hand in hand. Otherwise, you don't understand anything. So note making has to be very, very personal. As I added in the meme also, studying according to your personal potential. There's no one rule applicable to all. So it's all just, you need to figure out yourself. And like different strategies. Let's talk about strategies. So strategies, um, more like, very basic strategies, I'll say, because I know a lot of people have been talking about them on social media. But this one strategy I really like is the teaching strategy, where you yourself, like imagine an imaginary classroom is there and you teach to those students. So this goes hand in hand with the other pointer which I stated, that studying should be a lived experience. For most of us, studying is a very monotonous activity. Monotonous activity in the sense that it's very monochromatic, and it's monotonous because it's boring, but because it's not a lived experience, it's not something which our mind and our body are um, constantly into. It's just we are forced into it. So when I say lived experience, I mean, this teaching technique is the same thing. It's a lived experience because when you teach to an imaginary audience, um, you are living it yourself rather than just, monotonously taking the information in your head. So visual, auditory, and photographic cues, which all combine. So basically, these are the strongest form of memories. When you study, like if you write and if you read, you hear it, you see it, when all of these things go together, then these are like the strongest form of memories which are going to be there in your head. So, like this is what, like, I personally did, that once I have written my notes, I used to read them aloud to myself. And when I read them aloud to myself, I also like try to explain it to the imaginary audience. And once I've done all of these, it's very well, like memorized in your head. Real life correlations, very important. Real life correlations is that you need to start eliciting um, real life correlations with whatever you're observing in your real life, like whatever is happening around you. So as I, again, this is also associated with the fact that studying is very monochromatic. Most of the time we feel like, even like I've heard this a lot about math, that, children are like, when am I going to use this in my real life? This is not going to be useful in my real life. So everything you study, every single subject that you study is very, very important, that study it from the perspective of making real life correlations from it, eliciting real life correlations from it. So specifically in psychology, I use this a lot. So, like every single theory that I'm studying, every single concept that I'm studying, I try to observe similar patterns of behavior in, in the behaviors of the other people that I know, people from my family, my friends, everybody basically. So these can be found very easily. Um, in other subjects, economics per se, you can't just be studying like, okay, demand goes high, supply goes low. That's not going to sit in your head the way if you like name or label a firm in your head, and then you think that, okay, this firm's demand is going high, this firm's supply is going low. So basically, when you are writing in your sheet, you're able to recall that better when you have a real life correlation to it, because you remember that name because that's a unique name. Demand and supply are very generic terms. You're going to study it like 1,000 times in your books. But that one label that you put to that enterprise, that's going to be your personalized label, which you are going to remember.
Correct.
Um, then other thing is the 3 time revision rule. The 3 time revision rule is basically just, it's for when the exams are very near to you. um, when the exams are near, I think, we all are just going by the syllabus again and again and again and again, taking the information in, trying to memorize everything. Don't try to dot learn. So basically, do one revision, which is to be in detail, like a proper detailed revision. Okay, one time you have studied when you have made your notes, or when you have actually studied. The second time is when you have done your proper revision, and the third time is more like you can do it at the morning of the day you have your exam, or like the day before in the evening. And this revision does not have to be, a very detailed revision. This revision have to be a very overview of everything that you have studied. So basically, what I used to do is I just used to keep my book and just turn the pages and look at, like the headings and the subheadings. Because usually, many times I've seen is that if you like, studying just 1 or 2 days before the exam, you remember the concept what you've studied, but you don't remember under which subheading or which heading you've studied it. So basically, when it comes in the exam, you can't recall कि ये मैंने पढ़ा है पर मैंने कहाँ पे पढ़ा है. So this third revision is very specifically for when you just turn your pages and you remember, okay, this was the topic, this is what I studied in that. Page turn, this is the topic, this is what I studied in it. So this last revision gives you so much confidence that it's gonna like literally change your whole approach of writing an exam. Um, then obviously I've added some memes as well. दुनिया के सारे गलत फैसले एक तरफ, मैं भी उसी तरफ. So this is very, very important that you understand your time management. Time management is the key. Like absolutely, we all have 24 hours in a day. So we need to understand that, you need to start time rationalizing. Time rationalizing in the sense that, okay, I have these many hours, I need to sleep these many hours, I need to study these many hours. So you need to start evaluating that from what part of your day you can actually rationalize time out and merge it with your studying duration. Obviously, I've seen a lot of students who are not sleeping well because of studies and everything that is not healthy. You should not do that. Basically, you need to start understanding that this is the activity from where I can take time out and put it into studying. So if I put like 2 hours into watching social media, I can make it to 1 hour and put that another 1 hour in studies. But I cannot do that with my sleep because I sleep for 7 hours only, and that is what's required. So time rationalization. It can be any other activity. It can be watching television, Netflix, anything. But you need to start time rationalizing. Um, Obviously, when we study, regular breaks are very important. So our bodies are obviously not machines. We need to understand that we need to give them time. We need to give them time for recalling and for um, obviously, breaks in the sense that they do not have to be doom scrolling breaks. When I say breaks, I mean doing nothing kind of a break. Because when you're studying, your mind is already very preoccupied with whatever you're doing. So if I study this is information and then I go straight to watching reels as my break, then what happens is that the information that I've already conceived and the information which I'm conceiving through reels or through shorts or anything, they just get merged and they just distort my memories. So when I say breaks should be very, peaceful. Peaceful in the sense that you're not watching something very turbulent in it. It's not, it should not be about taking in a lot of information. It should not be a very mind engaging activity. It should be a mind relaxing activity, on the other hand.
Very nice, Molly. As you mentioned about the note making strategy, so I would want you to little discuss more on the technique of note making, because there are a number of ways children really form synopsis as well. So, how
Yeah,
has been your technique of making notes, and can you share a little bit more with the people that how they can share these notes?
yeah. So, with the note making, very specifically, as I said, I never made theoretical notes. Theoretical notes in the sense that basically don't copy off your books when it comes to note making. It has to be a very personal activity. It has to be in bullet points. Always use like bullet points and pointers. Always use very crisp notes, like only keywords should be there. You should not be writing, a lot of excessive content in it, because then you never go back to your notes if you just write a lot of excessive content in it. So, first of all, having
So this
keywords
is,
in
yeah,
your notes.
yeah, it's actually one strategy on the screen as well, where possibly how you can actually make up the style of your notes. So, Molly, looking to hear from you. Yes, dear.
Yeah, so basically, as I said, your notes should have keywords, obviously, should not have excessive extra information. Your notes should have personalized arrows. Your notes should have bullet points. Always write in bullet points, never write theoretically. And obviously, do not be afraid to make a mess when it comes to making notes. I've seen a lot of people who are using like 10 color pens and highlighters and everything. So it may work for you that way, but most of the time you're not able to maintain these kinds of notes where I'm like highlighting in different colors for different things. These never work. So note making, if it's a mess, let it be. Just let it be. If you're making a mess, make that mess, because that mess is what's going to sit in your head and you're able to understand it. So don't be afraid to write in bad handwriting. So these are some very, very basic things which you need to understand when it comes to note making. So, like, basically, as ma'am has shared on the screen as well, notes should have like definitions, main topics, examples. Examples are what are going to help you to understand the topic better. You can like read about a topic, but you never truly understand it unless you have associated it with a real life example. Dates and events. Especially in humanities, we used to have a lot of dates and events which are very essential. So we need to understand that we need to write dates and events, maybe highlight it as well, or maybe use a different colored pen for it. Key persons, the persons who are giving the theories, and the persons, like the majorly associated with them. And then note taking also. Note taking is when somebody else is speaking and you're writing hand in hand. So suppose if my teacher is teaching me, I'm not blindly taking notes, not like writing every word she or he is saying. I need to only understand and elicit the most important parts from it, conceive the information, and hand in hand make the notes accordingly about myself. How I like it.
So, Molly, very nicely you quoted, and I think it's a good example for everybody to watch over that how they're supposed to be specifically making notes. Although there are a number of techniques, you can even make cue cards, and you can actually separate your content. That's how the synopsis is actually been made, where you can actually divide your page into a respective form for making up the notes. So these are also some of the techniques that possibly can be followed, making it quite effective for your own self note making. And it's really wise for you to share this, because one of the most important techniques for actually learning for a very long time is maintaining and making up your own notes. So we have appreciations coming also that from the audience agreed that 100% on the note making. I remember my principal used to be saying that 1x writing is equal to 10x reading. It's making a writing a habit. So that's quite
Yeah.
important. So students noting and watching, kindly please ensure that you maintain your own notes. It's quite effective, important. Coming from the topper itself, that she has been doing it. It's a regular practice, and ultimately she has been able to gain the success with this. Okay. Furthermore, Molly, as you mentioned about notes, you also mentioned about the three rule technique for revision. So, can you hear once again from you that why the three technique of the rule revision is important, and how do you highlight on that one more?
So basically, many times we just completely study something and the other day we forget about it. So that is the importance of revision. If you revise, if you completely go over those topics once and again and again, that is when those topics actually sit in your head. You're able to understand them better. I can read a topic, I can understand it right now, but maybe 2 days down the line, I won't be able to recall them. So that's
Correct.
why revision is a very integral part of studying. Because when you want to do long-term studying, then revision is what's gonna help you. You know, if you want to just study for passing the exams after 2 days, then maybe. But if you want to keep that information, keep that knowledge for a long-term perspective, then revision is very important.
Very rightly said, Bolly. I really agree on this one. Then, basically making up the technique, the rule of three technique for revising the content post your studying. Because personally, if we believe and see that once you've read it, I think we remember it for a very long time. But it is not so. Revising is one of the key techniques that is actually going to give you an efficiency to remember it for a very long time. So we have a three rule technique, audience, children, students watching. Right. First, you have to be reading it. The second is again the second time of reading it, and the third time of reading, talking about a deeper understanding, talking about the application of it, and having and maintaining an overview of it. So, Molly, this is a really nice technique I think the students will have today. Firstly, is making of the notes. The second one is the rule of three for revision. Going back to what Molly was explaining, Molly, you have a number of images here. Could you please? The audience is really willing to hear from you. Could you please highlight a little more about them? That's the most interesting part for the session.
Yeah, so like I intentionally added all of these memes so that like everybody finds them very relatable because we always see them on the internet. So it's always nice to be relating through jokes and entertainment. So like as I said, the first dog saying धीरे धीरे समझ आ रहा है कि मुझे धीरे धीरे समझ में आता है. So my first word in the slide is only personalization. So this dog is understanding that their way of understanding is different, my way of understanding is different,
Correct.
yours is different. So personalization, understanding your own potential. Nobody knows your potential better than you do. You can be talking to 10 counselors, your parents, your family members, your friends, but it is at the end of the day, you are the one who knows your potential and you know your limit and you know how you can modify that as well. And it's eventually you who's going to do it. So personalization in your study routine is essential. It's integral that you understand it.
Very beautifully quoted here, Molly, because the most common misconception that parents usually have is that every child is at par and is at the similar state. So the note making strategy is way different for everybody. The idea of understanding has been way different, and yes, of course, it's a beautiful way of depicting that. I think the children watching here will be really able to relate themselves, and they will be able to put themselves in this respective scenario and see how basically it is difficult for us to be understanding things. Molly, you also mentioned about time management here.
Yes. Yeah, time
So could
management
you,
with the
yeah,
sense of time rationalization. As I said, you need to understand, rule out what are the activities from which you can take time out and what are the activities which you can include in your routine. So basically, time rationalization is very important. Uh, you know, so basically prioritizing that if I'm spending 3 hours in watching reels, then I need to take those 2 hours out and put it into studying. So time rationalization with reference to it eventually time rationalization goes hand in hand with the fact that we need to set a routine accordingly. So it's basically like achievements, plans, project priority, to do lists. To do lists are very helpful. I forgot to mention them because that whole idea when you write your to-do list yourself and the satisfaction when you cut something off that to-do list. It is the best feeling ever. Like if you write, I need to do 3 chapters today, and you do one chapter and you first run to your to-do list for cutting that off. So that is a very very nice strategy in order to motivate yourself to keep on doing because you feel like okay, I need to finish this to-do list today. I need to cut off every single checkbox today.
so as you mentioned about strategizing your time management, so I think you already mentioned about maintaining a timetable also for the children. And at the same time, when we mentioned about the to-do list, so if is it important for me to maintain a to-do list and how is it going to be helpful?
So basically, to-do list can, like give you, like if you make a to-do list in the morning or, the night before, then it gives you a mindset that when you wake up, then what is the way you are going to approach the day? What is it about? So basically, if I write three chapters and one of the chapters is really lengthy and really big, then I'll probably take up that chapter first. Because when I take up the chapter first and I do it, like it'll take me 6 hours, 7 hours. And after doing that, I know, okay, the other two chapters are very small, so I'll be able to do them because I've done the bigger one. So that is the kind of thing which to-do list brings to you, that it gives you a very satisfactory kind of sensation when you like cut something off a to-do list, which is a very heavy activity which is supposed to happen today.
And as you mentioned about strategizing it, you can actually share up a little bit how students can maintain their own timetable, dividing up respective subjects, because it's quite important for them to be dividing the time as per the particular subjects, equally dividing up, maintaining the co-curricular activities as well, which is equally important according to the balancing the academics.
Absolutely. Like you need to understand and phase out time that this is a subject, I'm not as good as it, so I need to give it more time. If it's a subject which I'm really good at it, then I'll give it less time because I know that I can manage it accordingly.
So, Molly, it's really important that we actually channelize and give the direction to the children. So, you beautifully mentioned about the time management, notes making technique as a very important strategy here. Okay, we have also a comment from the audience that cues and notes is very important skill, especially in the higher level of studies and exam preparation, like UPSC examination. They also teach the importance of them. So beautifully, you have already quoted here regarding that why it is important for us to be maintaining up the notes. And very importantly, to manage your time, everybody should be maintaining their own timetable. So here's a depiction here where it has been actually showing how you can be maintaining up your own timetable, dividing up your particular days with reference to the number of hours you're dedicating to each of them. Of course, your co-curricular is equally important. So you need to maintain a timetable for it. Because if you don't maintain the timetable, you'll not be able to streamline it much better. Thank you, Molly, for sharing up all these important pointers and techniques. This is very important for the children, of course. So, coming back, as you discussed about the time management, and you already highlighted here as well that we need to be strategizing our notes, key pointers, and we need to revise them. What are the other things that basically been important for us to be keeping in mind while we have been preparing for the further examination?
So, like as I've written also, manage time, set priorities according to subject and the syllabus. So, first step when you start studying is understanding your own syllabus. Because you cannot just be starting to study from anywhere. It's not an open-ended syllabus you have. I think every single board and every single examination has given a very well curated and very to the point kind of syllabus which you need to follow. So understand your syllabus, understand where you need to put in more time and more effort and where you need to put in less effort. So map out the chapters and sort them with difficulty level and give them time as required. Because some chapters need more time, some chapters need less time, and accordingly it goes hand in hand with the subjects as well. Also, understand your timetable, like your date sheet as well, because sometimes what happens is that a first exam is really nice, a second exam is really nice, but by the end of it you start losing your motivation, and even if you have an exam of your favorite subject at the end, it does not go well because by that time you have lost your motivation. So you need to understand your date sheet as well, like because I have this exam first, I need to prepare for it from these many days, it should be prepared by this time and everything needs to be done like that. Keep track of the actual prescribed syllabus while reading your book. Stay punctual and disciplined to yourself for yourself, obviously, because we all are doing it for ourselves. It's nobody else who's going to come and take credit for whatever you have done. So obviously, it's eventually going to be you and your parents and the people who are so closely associated with you who are going to get the credit. So you're doing it for yourself only. So be disciplined towards it. Know that studying and aiming for high marks is not for the society. You study to increase your own knowledge for what you want to be, and marks will follow behind. you don't chase them or you'll end up not learning. Don't get obsessed with marks, because some people are, have this kind of obsession with, marks, and keep on constantly comparing them with others. I remember like a friend of mine and her brother, they used to compare their marks a lot with each other, like with for every subject they used to do it. But it's a very unhealthy practice, I think, because everyone's potential is different, everyone's way of studying is different. So you don't need to compare yourself with anybody. You know your potential, and if you score accordingly, be happy for it. And always aim to read once, revise at least once, very important. One thorough reading, soaking every detail, and one reading to keep in mind the topics and the subheadings. As I have already mentioned this while the three-time revision rule, that the last reading has to be about actually understanding that I studied this under this subheading, under this topic, and under this subheading. Basically, it's just that, that overview, because I can tell from my own personal experience. I had my economics exam on the 21st of February this year, and I had 3 days of gaps. So every single day I did one revision, and the last day I did not do anything but to actually turn the pages of the book. And by that time I had the book memorized in my head, like I could like turn my pages over in my mind only. Like when I was writing the exam, I could like completely scan out the notes, because like that pictorial memory that you have, that visual memory that you have. I could see the book right in front of my eyes with my with my answer sheet also. So it just gets to that point where you have revised so much that you completely like remember what you're doing. And in Three Idiots, I remember, I want to quote this. In Three Idiots, Rancho says that, marks के पीछे मत भागो, excellence का पीछा करो, and marks जब मार के तुम्हारे पीछे आ जाएंगे. So this is what this pointer is about, that you should study for your own knowledge, your own excellence, and marks will obviously follow behind. So obviously, and this जिंदगी बहुत कुछ सिखाती है, लेकिन मैं सब कुछ भूल जाता हूँ. So it's about that importance of revision, because books are going to teach you a lot, but you need to revise them so that you remember them actually.
Beautiful. So, Molly, you already mentioned about date sheet here, that you need to understand your date sheet. It's a very important point for the viewers watching. Could you please highlight a little more that what is the meaning of understanding a date sheet? Although maybe mentioned a few pointers, but a little bit more you could highlight. So, how do children plan? Because the first thing they say is specifically how many days you have in between one to two exam. So, what is your
Absolutely.
way of dealing with that kind of a problem and an issue?
So basically, what happens is that um, when we have a lot of study preparatory leaves between the exams, we think that हमने सब कुछ पढ़ लिया है, so let's just leave it. And then by the end of
Correct.
it, when the exam is actually there, you don't remember anything because you studied a long time
Hmm.
ago. So this is what I'm talking about when I say that you need to understand your date sheet. If there is only 1 or 2 or 3 days of gap between some exams, then you need to actually put in that effort for those 2 3 days, and then your exam will go very well. But if you have like 15 20 days of gaps, then eventually people study in the last 2 3 days only, and the rest of the 10 days they're just having fun. So this is what you need to understand, that if I have these many days in this exam, then I need to study it accordingly. And if I have lesser amount of time, then I need to study it accordingly. Also, the sequence really matters, because when the exams are commencing, that energy is really high. So you feel like, first 1 or 2 exams, even if they're difficult exams, you put in a lot of effort and they go really well. But by the end of it, your body is so mentally and physically exhausted and drained that you just do not do it. This is what happened with me, because my exams were 2 months long actually. My exams started on the 14th of February and they ended on 4th of April. I had a lot of preparatory leaves in between, like really, really long. So, in between also, I actually started understanding it in between my exams only, when I had my political science exam, that I started understanding it, because I've already done everything. Now I'm not doing anything, and that's why I eventually regretting after exam. And then I got the motivation that in the last exam I need to prepare very well. So it's always a learned experience. I learned from my mistake, and then I'm obviously passing it on to all of you, that you understand your date sheet very well and prepare accordingly.
Very nice. So we have another uh, uh, feedback from our audience sharing their perspective here. Okay, so here a very important skill that my teacher taught me in the school was to make the flow charts and make the answer sheet easy to read for whosoever. will be marking up my answer sheet and help me quite a lot. So it's a long journey, and once you practice this kind of a technique, it's quite effective in terms of your academics.
True. Because like that's what my teachers also told me, that the examiner, you are writing one answer sheet, but the examiner has like 500 to evaluate. So
Correct.
obviously if you make it easy for them, then they're going to be very generous on you, and they're going to give you more
Yeah,
marks. If you make it easy on them, by making flowcharts or giving bullet points and everything. But if you write it theoretically, it will be like a burden for them to read it completely and evaluate it, and eventually they'll get annoyed and they'll cut your marks even you've written everything.
very right. Very rightly said. Okay. So, Molly, you discussed a lot about the date sheet as well, maintaining up a timetable and the key techniques of maintaining the things quite well. Furthermore, we would like to know that actually the main perspective is that every child is different. We've already highlighted this as well. But we already know this, there's a lot of pressure on the children also. So, every different reading style demands a different learning style as well. So what is your way of highlighting on this, that the children can basically be talking about more about themselves?
So, as I said, every single subject has a different approach to be taken, right? So, personally, what I did for my history examination, if I want to share, I had a wall in my room, and I have not had the picture of it, but that wall was completely covered with like sticky notes and connotations that I written on it. I was not even thinking that it's a painted wall, I should not ruin it, because this is how I was able to conceive the information. Because history is a kind of subject you need to make timelines, and when I made timelines, my notebook was always short, and I could not complete a timeline. And once I get to the other page, it gets really messy, because history is all about timeline. So I made this huge timeline on my wall, and it's still there at my house. And I've written dates, I've written events, everything, and looking at that timeline every single day really gave me that kind of memory, that I actually understood the sequence of events better than, like, if I would have if I did it in a notebook. So as I said, like, every single subject has a different approach to be taken.
Talking about the different learning styles, that what is the study routine that the children need to maintain to cope up. So as we can see a few depictions here as well, where people are just clueless that what exactly has been happening. We do not know with reference to our examinations.
So, like, as Adam's meme, like, everyone asked me what I did in the exam, but nobody asked me what the exam did to me. So this is what happens when you are just completely, got yourself in that, loop of studying, sleep deprivation, starvation. It just gets to that point where your body is physically and mentally drained. It should not be that way. Taking breaks and prioritize your mental and health mental health and physical health is also very important. Exams are stressful and you deserve rest. Taking disciplined breaks is not equal to procrastination and laziness. Because I remember a friend of mine, she used to tell me that, I go from school to my house, and I, start studying straight, like without even taking a break. And then I go to my coaching, and I come back and I study again. And, like, it just gets to that circle where you cannot get out of it. So this is what happens, and it's a very wrong abyss to fall into. So obviously taking disciplined breaks. As I said, disciplined breaks does not mean that you're supposed to be scrolling reels or anything. Do that. That's not an unhealthy practice, but it has to be in a very limited way. But disciplined breaks in the sense with something which actually, like, revokes your body. Like, for me, I love reading books and novels. I made a point last year for, like, I think 5 6 months, until it was not winter. I made it a point that I went to swimming every single day for an hour, because I love that activity, and that is something which actually rejuvenates my body regularly. So that was a disciplined break. So those kinds of breaks, if you take up such habits, then those can really help you to, be in that cycle and not make it unhealthy. Um, Also, one of the pointers that I need to point out here is only participate in exam discussions with classmates if you really want to. Don't be forced, as it can disrupt your focus. Because sometimes, you're standing outside the exam hall, and everybody is asking you something because you're like ये बता दे वो बता दे तूने ये कैसे पढ़ा वो कैसे पढ़ा. It's just sometimes ends up leading to memory distortion, and I am telling you for a fact अगर आप कुछ भी इस टाइप का डिस्कस करते हो, it always shows up in the exam. जो आपको मतलब ऐसे लगता है ना कि ये अभी डिस्कस कर रहा है और ये मैं भूल सकती हूँ, वो एग्जाम में आ जाता है. So you need to understand that if that's what you want to do, if you want to be discussing in exam discussions, then engage in them. Otherwise, don't, because it's all up to you how you do your exams. Obviously, nobody can study all the time. Make time for hobbies. It's okay to take breaks in between. Even days of break is that's what's needed. And what matters is that if you do get back on track. So this photo I put of this meme that पता नहीं क्यों नहीं हो रही पढ़ाई. So basically, sometimes what happens is that your body needs days of break also, because as I said, after my economics exam, I was completely sleep deprived, and my body was not happy with my sleep cycle as well. So I took 2 days of complete detox. In those 2 days, I did not study at all, but I did not obviously watch reels. I, spent time with my family. I went out for cycling and everything. So you can actually practice these hobbies, which can really help you. And what's important is that even if you're taking 2 days of break, is that what's important is that you actually start studying the third day, because you know that this much is the amount of time I'm supposed to take the break because I deserve it. Knowing that you deserve it is very important. Because thinking कि नहीं मैं break नहीं ले सकती is not true, because तुमने इतनी मेहनत करी है, so you should take a break now. So just understand that break and study goes hand in hand with each other.
So don't break your discipline, form it. That's the important takeaway that
Yeah.
you need to be having here. Yeah.
So like don't break your discipline. Take a break, but don't break the discipline. Don't break the cycle that you're in. Don't what's important, as I said, it's that you do get back on track. Get back on track, and you're going to be able to do it.
Molly, do you think it's as you mentioned about the hobbies? I think that's the most important struggle that children have it today. That they are not being able to maintain along with their academics. So you think it's been equally important for them to be actually enjoying their co-curricular activities as well, and how do they manage along with their academics? Could you maintain about the starting of your hobbies as you mentioned? So could you highlight a little more about it?
So basically, hobby is something like which can like really intrinsically make you happy. So for me, that was swimming. For somebody else, it could be something like something else. A friend of mine, she made it a point that no matter how much she studies, she always did artwork for an hour, in the evening.
Very
So that
nice.
could be a very detoxing activity. It could be anything, like listening to music could be as simple as listening to music, because that's a very like rejuvenating activity, where your mind and body actually gets refreshed. My mother always told me कि शाम को मत पढ़ा करो, जब दो संध्या मिलती है तब पढ़ना नहीं चाहिए. So at that time I used to take that break and I used to walk in my balcony, listen to music. It used to be a really nice thing.
Very nice. So I think it's really important for everybody to learn this technique. That of course, the discipline break is quite important. Very beautifully you have mentioned that. And also at the same time, maintaining your hobbies and co-curricular activities is equally important, right? So we have another one from the audience. Ms. Varsha has been mentioning it is very important to make time for hobbies. I observed that all my students, including Molly, who has excelled academically and has been an active participant in the school events, been maintaining both of them. That's beautiful, right? So we have a comment from
Thank you so much,
Molly's
ma'am.
teacher as well. Engaging in such activities help them unwind and relax, making their mind more receptive to learning. So that's beautifully quoted that we have Molly's teacher here being talking about her journey. And yes, of course, she has maintained both of them, which because of which we have an example of her be leading as a head girl, of course. And yes, of course, maintaining the academic journey as well. Beautiful.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So as we move further, Molly, good pointers of discipline break and maintaining the hobbies along with it. It's very important. It's very nice detoxing activity actually to relax your mind, to calm yourself, as well as at the time of discipline break. So many of the people believe and think that the discipline break is actually just a kind of a way of an excuse not to study, and then they're not able to continue back. Does it happen with you as well?
No, see, basically, I do not make time setters for my break. So, if I'm taking a break, I go back to study only when I feel like it. Because after a point, when you have disciplined your body and you have that kind of mindset, then your body asks you to go back to studies because you have had ample amount of breaks. Some people I've seen who have, जैसे कि 1 घंटे बाद का अलार्म लगा लेते हैं, 1 घंटे बाद वापस आएंगे पढ़ने के लिए. It never happens because वो 1 घंटे से 5 मिनट भी ज्यादा हो गया तो अब आपको आधा घंटा और देना पड़ेगा.
Correct.
So you need to understand that part, that like, come back to studies when your body tells you that okay, you're taking this break, now it's time to study.
Very nice. So I think that that's really important, and there comes the discipline part. That how you maintain the discipline. It doesn't have to be in the complete sequence of the timetable that you make, but yes, of course, the thought process it's very important because you need to know that I need to dive back in. Just because I am taking a break, it doesn't mean that it is actually an excuse for me to not come back to my own studies. So there comes a self determination, a self discipline technique, very important for us to be maintaining. So, as we are discussing here, a lot of techniques that you have shared, making notes, maintaining your own timetable, you have shared about managing time, maintaining your hobbies, which is very important because most people usually just talk about academics. Pado, pado, pado. Right? Nobody talks about maintaining your hobbies along with it, which is a very, very important way. And even we have a teacher been vouching here that yes, of course, children should be maintaining that as well. Furthermore, children do have this habit, and mostly parents, that they compare the students with the toppers. So your parents also might have this kind of a feeling that yes, they have been actually being compared. So do you also feel quite being affected by this? That how are these comparisons being taking place, and what are your strengths? Like how to make it a strength instead of being in an unhealthy practice for the people, especially children, because they feel quite a pressure because of the same.
Yeah, so basically, being compared is I think it's a very natural human tendency, but knowing that you are different and your potential is different and your competition is only with yourself. You are your only competition. You are in competition with your past self who was maybe not as disciplined.
Very nice.
So
Correct.
obviously having competition with your own self in your mind, that is important. And other people, they are going to make competitions. Like, there are high achievers. Nobody can become Bill Gates all the time. So be okay with what you have. Be okay with your potential, but always try to better yourself from your past self.
Very nice. This is actually really important for everybody to note. Children usually forget it in their journey that they are actually not competing with the future. They're actually competing with the past to make ourselves better each and every day. And that's one of the important skills that is actually going to help us excel and not to be comparing us with others. So you must have faced a lot of this comparison in your journey as well, because many times parents unknowingly and knowingly also compares you with the pados ki beti or pados ka beta, right? So how has your journey, and like what are your personal take on this that can help the students, those who are watching, the viewers, on this?
For this, I kind of had a benefit that my parents are not like that. They don't really compare me with other students, and I really appreciate that for them, because I've seen this kind of really toxic comments coming from parents about other
Very
kids and
nice.
everything. I've received such comments from other parents, but that does not affect me because my parents are always very supportive and they're always very okay with whatever I'm scoring. So even if I'm not scoring well, sometimes I remember one time there was a death in my family and I was not able to prepare that well. So I was crying and I told my mother कि मेरा अच्छे से नहीं हुआ है. And she was like, क्या होगा, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा फेल हो जाओगी और क्या होगा. So
Hmm.
so having those kind of parents is really really fortunate on my side. So I really acknowledge that.
That's really, really important, actually. And yes, of course, it's not a self journey, it's a journey from the family. Everybody's been actually a part of it, and we need to be sailing through only with the help of our parents and the relatives, teachers. Of course, they are the team and the team building support that we have been having. And of course, yes, it's a journey that every day we need to be a part of each other, help each other grow. That is how it is going to be excelling us for the future as well.
True.
So, your personal take on being disciplined, Molly? Yes.
Yeah. So this section I've named it Oblivion. Oblivion because being oblivious from what is happening on social media is the best way to deal with social media. I think it was a benefit on my side because I was not on social media at that time when my exams were going on. When I was in my preparatory stage, I did not have an Instagram account or a Facebook account or something. But I did have WhatsApp, and I had that ample amount of exposure to the social world, but I knew my limit that I cannot risk being on a social media platform which is so time consuming and engaging. So I was not on Instagram or anything. But even if you are, that's not a bad thing, but still understanding and being oblivious of the fact that what's happening on Instagram. This influencer is getting married, this influencer has had a breakup, that has no effect on your life, honestly. So you need to understand that and being oblivious of it. That's for entertainment purpose basically. So obviously being oblivious of social media is the best way to deal with social media.
But at the same time, you even if you are having an account, you need to be wise enough and be knowing the worth of it, how to be dealing it. Very very amazingly quoted here by Molly. That yes, of course, what is happening in others' life should not be a reason for you to be very affected because it's ultimately content at the end. So
Absolutely.
oblivion of the fact and that social media is not going to be taking your life over. It is a support to you and it has to be used it in a very right manner. And that is where we are discussing the impact of social media versus the social life that we have, studies that we have. Because many of the times we forget, unknowingly we end up into things where possibly scrolling has no end. So that is where it attracts you, holds on to you, and then you're not leaving it. And ultimately that the time period that you decided that I'm going to be there just for a few minutes or seconds extends to hours, and you lose track of what you were studying.
Absolutely.
So Molly, you believe that children should not be maintaining a social media account for a particular period of time when they've been actually maintaining.
Not necessarily, but if you have that kind of awareness that how much you have to use it and in what appropriate measures, then I think it's not a bad thing necessarily. But I think having it like even now, like I have social media now, but I think it can affect my studies in some point. If my exams are nearing, then I'm gonna go off social media because once you have that social media, then this urge always keeps on coming कि click कर लो थोड़ा सा इसके लिए देख लो तो वो सब चीजें हमको ही मेंटेन करनी पड़ती है कि कैसे मैनेज करना है.
Okay, right. So that's really important. Right. So Molly, very rightly quoted here, and we have an appreciation for the dear sister as well. So we can't be unknown about the fact that what is happening around us, and it's important to maintain social media only if you believe and feel that you will be able to maintain a self control and discipline to yourself. Else, it is very difficult to maintain it for a very long time because if you feel that I'm so distracted, I cannot control myself, I need to get back and check what has been happening on my account, then children should be basically off the account that they have maintained for a certain period of time, when especially during the time of examination or self preparation. It's quite important. Your take on this, Molly? You have such beautiful pictures here. So could you highlight a little bit more, stressing more on the kind of disturbance that the children have it in their mind? I think they will be definitely be able to relate with this right now.
Yeah, so like the first meme is that please don't disturb, already very disturbed. So basically, right now we can say there's so many things happening in our personal life, obviously in
Correct.
teenage, with college and school, there's a lot of drama happening around us. So we're already very preoccupied. Our mind is already very preoccupied. So I don't think going on social
True.
media and, letting somebody else's drama in your life is going to help in any way. So you have to minimize that distraction first of all. And procrastination is the biggest problem which everybody deals with. I think I'm also a victim of procrastination. I also think कि कल कर लेंगे बाद में कर लेंगे. So you need to understand कि टाइम से पढ़ाई कर लेनी चाहिए थी, क्योंकि फिर then you'll end up like your no भैया in the meme. And then and the Dora the Explorer as well. You know कि आपको मेरे exam की preparation दिख रही है because it's not there. So procrastination is something which we need to deal with. With social media, as I said, if you get an urge to watch social media, then it's not a bad thing. But having social media alarms that basically you start scrolling reels and you put an alarm of 10 minutes after, and you feel like okay, जैसे 10 minute हो जाएंगे, I'll keep it down. But you don't do it in real life. But if you put an alarm, then maybe you will. So I think this can be really helpful. That's what I did for a couple of times. That if I really want to be watching shorts because I was on Instagram, so I was watching shorts, then I would put an alarm of like 15-20 minutes, and after once that alarm rings, I'm gonna keep it off. Uh, then this next strategy that I want to talk about is fool your brain. Reverse time setting to avoid procrastination. So I've heard and read about the strategy. I think in one of the books, Atomic Habits or something, uh, where the readers, no, sorry, the author says that I'm not sure about the book, but like yeah, the author says that if you're not able to study, because the first step for studying is to actually sit and start studying, because that starting phase is very important. That starting phase is the most difficult part. I have reversed this strategy and I think कि आई मेक टाइम स्टैम्प्स कि मुझे 4 बजे तक पढ़ना है, पर 4 बजे से 5 मिनट ज्यादा पढ़ना है. So this is my reverse time strategy. So in that book I read that the author says that start studying for 5 minutes, and जब 5 मिनट हो जाएंगे then you'll most likely continue. What I think is that I'll study till 4 p.m. पर उससे 5 मिनट ज्यादा पढ़ूंगी. तो मैं 5 मिनट ज्यादा पढ़ने के चक्कर में फिर आधे घंटे ज्यादा पढ़ लेती हूँ.
Hmm.
So this is the reverse time setting, because this way कि आप procrastination को थोड़ा combat कर सकते हो, कि आप ये नहीं सोचोगे. Procrastination can also be like अब break लेना है, अब break लेना है. तो वो बहुत ही आसान हो जाएगा आपके लिए अगर आप रिवर्स टाइम सेटिंग में जाते हो कि मुझे 5 मिनट, बस 5 मिनट और पढ़ना है, बस 10 मिनट और पढ़ना है. तो
Very nice. It's amazing mentioned here, Molly. This is very nice. A reverse technique. Uh, Usually we have a tendency that if I have set up a time, so I'm just looking at the time that it's about to come, so I'm done. Right. Apart from it, rather than I'm just being completing that, I need to pull a little bit more apart from it, and that is actually going to give you an Excel idea to be attaining more. It's very amazingly mentioned by you. Very nice. I think this is very important for everybody to know this thing, that instead of working by the deadline, that I need to be working till this time only. If I'm basically working a little bit more to it, it is actually going to be really excelling point. Very nicely said here. Well, you mentioned of fooling your mind as well. Like, how do I fool my mind? What is that technique of fooling my mind?
fooling my mind is like gaslighting yourself. I think everybody knows very well what gaslighting is. So basically gaslighting is like telling yourself constantly, like constantly repeating it in your head कि बस इतने दिन हो जाए उसके बाद मजे ही मजे हैं, उतने दिन हो जाए उसके बाद मजे ही मजे, भले ही हो ना, पर thinking that is going to bring like a very positive reaffirmation in your life. It give you motivation कि हाँ बस इतना पढ़ना है, उसके बाद नहीं पढ़ेंगे. So it's like like it's like setting small achievable goals. So when you like set small achievable goals and think कि इसके बाद नहीं होगा, then that really helps you to build your momentum. तो जब आप एक बार मोमेंटम में आ जाते हो तो आप पढ़ने ही लगते हो. तो वो स्मॉल
Very
स्मॉल
nice.
गोल्स जो है जो खुद को गैसलाइट करके आप करते हो कि बस इतनी देर पढ़ेंगे फिर नहीं पढ़ेंगे, हाँ इस दिन तक पढ़ेंगे फिर नहीं पढ़ेंगे, फिर आप पढ़ते ही रहते हो.
Very true. Also, you mentioned about devotion to music. Do you think it is important for them to be maintaining? Isn't it a distraction for them while they're studying? The music is actually uh, deviating the focus, just like social media.
No, see, social media is a very different kind of content, and music is a very different kind of content. Social media is, if you're watching a 60-second reel, that's a new information every 60 seconds. So that actually distorts your span of attention. That's actually proven psychologically. That watching reels or doom scrolling really distorts your span of attention. But when it comes to music, it actually helps to increase your span of attention because you are keeping track of the same lyric, the same melody for 4 or 5 minutes of whatever duration the song is off. So, as I said, it could be a really detoxing activity because it's gonna, increase your span of attention. Because music is a very attractive thing. When you hear something, the sounds and the melody, it can be really relaxing for your brain. And devotion in the same sense, if you follow any particular religion, even if you don't, it is fine. But like having devotion towards something, it brings a lot of positive energy in your life, which I have personally experienced a lot.
Hmm. Very nice. What is your
Because
taste
that
of music, Molly?
my taste of music, I have a very varied taste of music. Actually, I love to listen to Coldplay a lot.
Oh,
So
really nice.
yeah, I'm mentioning Coldplay and One Direction. That's majorly, but like sometimes I like to listen Hindi songs, so sometimes jazz. It just keeps on fluctuating.
And any specific taste of music that you have when you're feeling stressed or you're really overburdened with your academics, and it really calms and soothes you when you have been actually studying?
Yeah, so for that I listen to shloks from the
Oh,
Gita,
very nice.
or if anybody has heard it, the Shiv Stotram or something like that. Something, as I said, like it does not have to be religiously oriented necessarily, but something which is very devotional and spiritual. I think that really lifts your mind and gives you that kind of motivation.
So it's a personal choice, whatever soothes you, whatever calms you. It can be basically loud music, it can be a soothing, calm music. It can even be the sound of a water, right? And
Yeah,
there are certain meditative musics also, so you can try calm yourself mind with some peaceful music that is actually going to help you gain attention, and yes, your time span for your studies is actually going to increase with it, preferably a point of your choice. So that's really important and very wise appeal coming from Molly, because I think she has practiced these things herself, and that is why she's been able to speak out loud about it, because it's not just merely by saying, it's practically by living it. And we have a live example that Molly has lived it, and that is why she has been able to maintain the balance with academics, with extracurricular, with the responsibilities that she is sharing, and which is important also to learn. Children been learning today. It's very important that they gain you from an inspiration being here itself.
yeah. One of the
Yes,
pointers which I left in the earlier slide, it was the educational
yes.
content one. So the
Okay,
educational content one is more like that you make your feed very educationally oriented. So basically,
very
with
nice.
me, what used to happen is that I used to purposefully go and watch a lot of educational videos so that like they start coming up on my feed. And whenever I open YouTube or anything, even for doom scrolling, whenever my mind is a little distracted and feel like okay, I should watch social media for 10 minutes, I open and I see the same educational content. So that used to ruin my mind. I was like, "Isko rag do, isse अच्छा book पे पढ़ लेती हूँ."
Hmm.
So that
Very nice.
strategy is really helpful because when you purposefully like distort your own feed, then you feel like कि अब तो social media में भी कुछ नहीं है, पढ़ लेते हैं.
Exactly. And that's really important. It basically depends on us. How do we want to maintain our feet? Because
Yeah,
the algorithm works as per what you search. So if
absolutely,
I am searching about clothing, and I am searching about the best perfumes, and I'm searching about what's the influencer been doing, so automatically it is actually going to be affecting me the same. So my feeds should be actually of the educational content. It is actually going to show you more amount of educational content. So it depends upon you how you
absolutely,
maintain your social media. So there are
absolutely,
ways. Nobody is stopping you to be off your social media. They're not saying just completely be off. You're not saying that it's not important, but yes, of course, how to manage it educationally, maintain it along with the pace of your modern problems and issues that we have been having. We need to be actually modifying ourselves accordingly. It's really important for us. And furthermore, Molly, more societal pressure and expectations, please. Yeah,
yeah. So in this means that like born to ha ha he he and forced to study. So studying does not mean losing or forgetting your happiness. The balance is really important. So like if you personally like I can speak only for myself. Uh, I never made um, made it a point. I always made a point that I spend this much amount of time with my mom or with my siblings, and having family time. So that is very important because that is what actually revokes you. Because having those people who love you, and having those people to actually have that kind of energy, that these are the people you're doing it for actually, right? So cutting connections with the people you're doing it for is a very stupid thing. So obviously, you need to understand that studying does not necessarily mean that you need to cut off all of your social relations with all of your friends. I was always connected over chat and through Snapchat or something to my best friend, always, like almost every single day, because I knew that she is the person I want to be connected with. You have to make a conscious choice about who you want to be connected with. So not having an excessively large social circle, but does not mean that you need to have a very small one as well. So societal expectations versus personal. Nobody knows your potential better than you do, as I mentioned earlier as well. And this बस मरने तक पढ़ लो उसके बाद तो मजे ही मजे हैं. The same gaslighting one which I explained earlier, that you need to gaslight yourself के इतने तक पढ़ेंगे उसके बाद नहीं पढ़ेंगे. So that way I think you know you're able to really fool your brain into studying.
So, Molly, you mentioned here that your potential, the societal pressure, that you have more, you must have heard about it also. Have you also been told this thing that you have more potential, but you are not living up to that expectations? Parents, teachers, friends. Have you heard about this kind of a pressure also?
Yeah, absolutely. Like people keep on telling you have more potential, you can do better, you can do this, you can do that. Um, but actually, it's only you who knows what you can do and what you cannot do, and how you can modify that pedestal for yourself.
So how
So
does it
if you
feel
are,
when you've been actually been pointed out with reference to the potential? What is the student feeling at that particular time? That when you've been pointed that yes, you have a lot of potential, but you're not living up to it. So how does the feel right at that moment?
I think, suppose like if I'm actually not living up to my potential, then it's a very annoying feeling. That's why are they telling me this? Like who are they to tell
Correct.
me this? I know myself better or something like that. But if you know that you are actually working on it, then it's a very nice feeling that you feel like, okay, I can live up to their expectations as well. So it goes hand in hand with what your mindset is at that point.
Very nice. So it's really amazing to hear all these things. I think from a student perspective, because many of the times we as parents and elders forget that there's a different world that they're going through, and they have new terms that have been added up to their dictionary, possibly we of which we have been learning the meaning till now. Memes is the other new world, and they understand this world through this. That's the way of expressing themselves. They're not able to express by words, but yes, of course, the emoji and the meme explains much better for what you are been feeling. And that is why I wanted to know that what is your perspective when it's been told, because many of the times elders and we forget that yes, of course, we can see that potential, but you as an individual has not been able to see because you're trying to give your best, but still it has
Yeah,
not been that way. So it's a kind of a pressure, societal pressure, expectations, especially from the parents, unknowingly very demanding expectations, and then ultimately it feels a quite a pressure for the children.
true.
So बस ओके, बस मरने तक पढ़ना है, उसके बाद मजे ही मजे हैं, right? Further, we discuss a lot of personal perspective. We have discussed about the social media content, that how it has been affecting us. How is it been adapted to your lifestyle? Furthermore, academic pressure or societal pressure, how is it basically reforming your mindset, your physical body, your emotional state, your mental state? How has your body adaptations been taking place with reference to the kind of a pressure that we feel with reference to academics or stress? And how do children maintain that?
So basically, body adaptation eventually leads to the same thing, that if you have a set routine, then your body, like, eventually at the end of the day, adapts to that set routine. So when your body has adapted to it, anything which goes off that body adaptation routine feels abnormal now. So once I've adapted my body to study 8 hours or 10 hours a day, if I don't do it someday, that feels abnormal. So you have to generate your new normals if you want to make a routine. So that's what body adaptability is all about. That you need to adapt your body in a way where something if something goes off track from it, then that is what feels abnormal to you, even if that was your previous normal.
So, how have you maintained it, Molly? That you have maintained, you mentioned about the timeline, of course. You mentioned about maintaining notes and maintaining a timetable, but has these body adaptations been a quite a difficult task for you as well?
It has been, honestly, because like I personally am a kind of person, I like to wake up early in the morning and study. It may not be the same for you. Some people I've heard they really like to study at night. They love to study at night because, at that time they can truly get privacy. But for me, it's more like, if I'm sleepy, then I'm not able to study at all. So once that sleep hits me, then I just sleep immediately, even if I have to wake up at 5 a.m. the next day. I'm up for that. So that is my body adaptability. That is how I have done it, and that's how my body responds to it. So these are the little changes that you need to bring in your life, so you can actually make your body adapt to that routine.
Very nice. And of course, there's a need for the change also, which basically is important for your body to be adapted. So we have another comment coming up. Need to change the thinking. Study never really stops in life. बस 12 तक पढ़ लो उसके बाद मजे ही मजे is leading. The truth that we are lifelong learners. That's of course that's we need to be finding out the positives in everything that we are having. So we need to be learning. We are learning at every point of our lives. Today we are actually hosting this podcast or the discussion here or on this webinar. Then ultimately again we have been actually in the learning process. What the journey of a child feels when they have been actually trying to excel and be an academic achiever at the same time maintaining the responsibilities. That's a way different world. Hearing from them is another experience of learning. So we are learning at every step of our life, and we need to be
Yeah,
lifelong learners. Cooking, reading, investing, growth never ends. Very nice, very nicely quoted here.
true. Absolutely.
So furthermore, body adaptation. Your highlights more on this, Molly. How do I maintain that
Yeah.
body adaptation difficulties as a student?
So basically, having a good sleep cycle is essential. I talked about time rationalization in the beginning as well. I've seen so many students who actually flex about the fact that they've slept only for 3 hours or 4 hours. It is not healthy, obviously, and it is not cool because when you are trying to prepare for an examination, not just 2 nights before, then it may work for you. You might not sleep that day, and then you're able to perform good the exam the next day. But if you are actually preparing from it from the last 1 or 2 months, then obviously you cannot be away for 1 or 2 months. You cannot risk to sacrifice the sleep cycle for 1 or 2 months because that's not healthy in the short term and in the long term. So obviously having a good sleep cycle, make sure that you sleep at least 7 hours a day. I've also put a Venn diagram here where there's a lot of procrastination, things I have to do, things I want to do, and then a slight bit of sleeping in between. So that is not healthy. I used to set alarms every single day different. I never had this 6 a.m. alarm every single day. It depends on when I sleep. So if I sleep at 10, then I'll wake up at 5, 5:30. But if I sleep at 12, then why would I wake up at that time? Because obviously my body has not taken ample amount of rest which is required. So at that day I used to wake up at 7, 7:30. So never sacrifice your sleep cycle for studying because eventually then you won't be able to study if your sleep cycle is not in correct motion. And having one alarm. This is what I really wanted to tell to everybody that so many kids I've seen they put like 5, 6, 10 alarms also every 5 minutes. But having just one alarm gives your mind that kind of awakening that 5 and 10 alarms cannot. Because when the first alarm rings, we think that अरे 5 मिनट बाद दूसरा बज जाएगा, फिर 5 मिनट बाद दूसरा बज जाएगा, फिर 5 मिनट बाद. So उस तरीके से क्या होता है कि आप ढंग से सो भी नहीं पाते हो और आप ढंग से जग भी नहीं पाते हो. जब आप केवल एक अलार्म लगाते हो, when you put only one alarm, then what happens is that your brain knows कि after this nobody is trying to wake me up. So this is the only time, that this is the only opportunity for me to wake up and get my day in motion. So having just one alarm, I think it can really help a lot of people who put like several alarms. Just put one, just try putting one. So that is very important. Balanced diet and proper nutrition. I think the credit for this goes to my mother because she took care of it. She made sure that I drank milk every single day. She fed me almonds, walnuts, and like make sure even she kept my nutrition in balance because I am the kind of person I do not look after what I eat. So she has to be given the credit for this. But I think having a balanced diet and a lot of proper nutrition can really help. Don't overeat, don't undereat. So those are very important, obviously. Um, And the last one is managing social pressure. I've also added this one meme. You don't have to forget your social life and cut off all connections just to score marks. Because in this, the monkey is saying, ये guys, आज से हंसी मजाक बंद, मेरी उम्र हो गई है, अब life को serious लेना होगा. See, life is never serious. Life is a journey. Life is supposed to be about having fun, right? And studying necessarily does not have to be unfunny, right? So making jokes out of what you're studying is really really helpful for me. Like I made so many memes out in my history book, in my English book also. I used to write, me and my friend we used to like write because we used to study Shakespeare actually. So obviously Shakespeare is not relevant in our times. It was during the 16th century. So we used to write a lot of funny memes there and whatever Shakespeare is saying is like, bro, you gone mad or something like that. So those kind of memes can, studying can be a very fun activity in itself. That's what I want to point out here. It doesn't have to be necessarily unfunny. So yeah.
Beautiful. And I think that's the coping mechanism for the generation. We find fun and memes and emoticons in everything, so that basically it becomes a way expression to us, right? So we have an appreciation coming in for Molly. Well explained, Molly. Hope you're spreading such elaborated knowledge in the future too.
Thank
I
you,
think
ma'am.
someone,
Divisha, ma'am, she's
yeah,
actually really close to me. She's a really nice person.
very nice, right? So we have acknowledgement and appreciation from your teacher as well here, Molly. Good going. So we have the blessings for everyone. Molly, you discussed here regarding maintaining a routine, maintaining a balance, right? And it is important for every one of us to be maintaining it. There are a lot of perspectives that the children really fail on, and they're not able to maintain. And yes, of course, the family support is quite evident and important. And time management, sleeping habits, and everything is quite an important for maintaining the stress and the societal pressure that they're having. Have you also gone through all these difficulties when you have been preparing for examination?
Absolutely, like sleep habit, time management, healthy diet. These are like these are very essential things for survival, but we tend to ignore them a lot, and we end up sacrificing our mental and physical health, long term and short term, for this. So we need to understand, having to relax, having a nice sleep schedule, having a healthy diet, keeping your body in exercising and meditation, because see, your mind is constantly working when you're studying, but your body is not. So you need to have that kind of balance that your body also functions. So having any exercise or playing a game, meditation, these can be really helpful for actually studying well. If you want to perform good on
Just
the
to ease
table,
your
you need to
mind.
perform good on the court as well.
Hmm. Right. So just to ease your mind, even if you'd like an exercise or possibly you like to play, if you're a sport
Yeah.
person, so you can actually go out on the field, go in the ground and practice thing, anything that just releases out the stress and not to be just letting it keep building on. Life is not that difficult. We tend to make it by the non-applicability of things which we already are been aware of. So beautiful thing like just
True.
music itself plays a key role in terms of relaxing our mind, and it eases out so much of stress and it makes you so calm and relaxing. We have one of the audience also been mentioning about the same. Music also tunes us and our subconscious mind. That's why I keep blasting "I'm the Best" by Shah Rukh Khan, SRK, instant focus mode on. So that's how you cope up. That's a coping up mechanism. You need to find out a way of your own, how you need to be basically getting over it. And yes, of course, as we discuss about social media, it has to be a friendly social network, which is not actually creating more stress on you, but it is actually a stress buster, which is very important. So of course these are some key tips, dear students watching. Maintain your stress levels with that. Yes, of course, it's not difficult. We need to be finding a ways to ease out, and Molly has been beautifully been quoting them as well here, because at the end, coming as an example from the person who has lived it is more important than something and someone who's been speaking who has not lived it. So we all go through different lifestyles. Sleeping pattern, as you mentioned, Molly. What do you think is the average sleeping time that has been required? Is it like we are giving too much of a time for sleeping? Many of the times, children actually dedicate a lot of time. They're they're late waking up and in the morning, or they're sleeping late, and the sleep cycle is not been able to maintain with the academics. So, how much do you think should be a sleeping an average sleeping time required for the child to be in maintaining a balance?
So like the average sleeping time should be 7 hours. Like half an hour plus and minus. But 7 hours is the goal basically. But sometimes I've seen that people like, wake up like are completely awake for 2 days and then they sleep for 12 hours. So that is
Hmm.
very unhealthy. That is a very unhealthy practice because obviously your body and your mind is not in motion for that. So
Right.
I've seen that you'll be in complete preparation phase for 2 days and you'll sleep just for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then when once the exams are over, you're sleeping for 12, 13 hours. So that's very unhealthy.
Right. As you mentioned about minimum 7 to 8 hours, there's a possibility that many a times we extend way too much, and ultimately, when you're extending way too much, it makes you more drowsy and weak when you're waking up, and the
True.
concentration level automatically reduces down. So the
Yeah,
survey
like
also says 97.
oversleeping
Yeah,
is
please.
oversleeping is something which actually, it's been proven that it actually brings more laziness in your body, more stiffness in your muscles and your blood circulations, which ends up leading to obviously laziness and fatigue throughout the day.
Very nice. Yes, of course. And this is even the survey says that 97% of the teenagers get less sleep that is recommended. That 8 to 10 hours of the sleep has been actually been required. But as per the surveys, also the children average sleep is basically less. 52% of the children aged between 6 to 7 years, 17 years is actually getting less than the recommended 9 hours of sleep cycle. And once you're sleeping the other day, you're sleeping oversleeping as well. There's also one of the tendencies. And if you're oversleeping and the mind is not relaxed, you're not able to sleep well for good number of hours, automatically reduce down the pace of your understanding and concentration. Of course, your mind starts to slow down, which is not a
Yeah,
very widely accepted thing in the teaching and academic progress.
yeah.
So, dear children, you need to maintain your sleep cycle. Ensure that you're at least sleeping 7 to 8 hours a day. It is actually going to build up your mind really well, and you're going to be feeling much better in that 8 hours of cycle of sleep. And when you wake up, it is going to be good concentration for you. You will be able to study well, you will be able to retain well, and you will be able to remember things for a very long time, rather than feeling drowsy and waking up with feeling really low rather than feeling refreshed is another factor that basically reduces down your overall progress. So we have a depiction here as well, as Molly stated about an 8 hour cycle of sleep. So you can very well see that how much reducing the hours of your sleep can actually affect your overall academic performance and of course your personal growth as well. So deep sleep is very important, and yes, of course, the proper rest to your body is equally important in your academic progress. Further, Molly, you discussed a number of things. Maintaining one alarm was like my best thing to take. That very nicely she mentioned that you need to have one alarm. I think possibly everybody has that snooze kind of a thing that they have at least 4 to 5 alarms being set. The dedication that this after this alarm has been switched off, I will not be having another alarm to be is actually going to wake me up, and mostly of us are actually been doing the same. We actually were putting an alarm for a gap of 2 minutes, a gap of 5 minutes, a gap of 15 minutes, and it has always been snoozed on. Yes, so it's always been snoozed and again and again and again till the time you're waking up that yes, I missed out the time as well. So very nicely mentioned here, and very important for everyone that you should have one alarm, only one alarm, and it is actually going to give you good discipline in your life. That yes, of course, after this, it is not going to be another bell that is ringing, so I need to wake up at my first call. Very nice. Very good pointers being raised, Molly here. Yeah. So furthermore, when we talk about more about studies, as you've maintained, I've given you a lot of ideas here for the students. How do you maintain your personal happiness through this journey? It has been very difficult as an individual to maintain your cycle with this with academics. So how do I feel happy?
See, happiness is a state of mind. It's a state of being. Nobody can, like happiness can be in the simplest of things. It can be found in the simplest of things. Like it can be about the people. It can be about the food. It can be about the music. And these are the small things which actually, when you think about it, that's the true purpose of life. Everybody eventually wants to be happy. That's why they're working. That's why so like if I study, I'll get good marks. That will make me happy. If I study, I'll feel good in myself, which will make me happy in turn. So happiness eventually comes down to the same thing, that it's a state of being, it's a state of mind, and it's a mindset. If you want to be happy, then you'll find happiness in the simplest of things. like as that don't can you show? Yeah, the slide. As I've mentioned the slide as well, like don't focus on occasional failures. This poor dog is encouraging the other ones. It's like move on, kar bhai, because we have all made mistakes once or twice in our lives. We all feel bad. We all regret about the decisions that we have made in the past. But that does not necessarily lead up to what you're going to be in the future. Your past self and your future self are different. So don't focus on occasional failures. There are always learning opportunities to try again. It's very important to come back home from the exam and take as much time as you need, but go back to the question paper to see which questions and topics you didn't retain well and set them at higher priority while studying the next time. What I mean by this is that sometimes we are not able to perform that well in our examinations, and there are some questions which we are not able to attempt well, which we are not satisfied with. But once you come back home, don't come back home and calculate your marks, come back home and calculate your mistakes. What mistakes did you make in this examination? And I tell you for a fact, if you have actually come back home and found a mistake that you have made, you never ever ever forget that concept or that mistake you have made. Because, like, especially with me, if I have written something wrong in my exam and I've come back and I've realized that I had written something wrong, when I check it in my book, it just becomes a memory, and it just becomes a lived experience in itself. So it just comes back to the same thing, that now it's a lived experience, now I cannot forget it. So this one topic, it was there, I actually wrote it, it came in my half yearlies, and I wrote it wrong. When I went back home and I checked my answers, it was wrong. So, and it actually showed up in my board exam as well, and this time I wrote it correctly because I had lived that experience of writing it wrong. So this time I knew I'm not going to make the same mistake again. So that's why you have to move on from it. And don't worry, mistakes will always and always and always help you learn. Um, and just one more meme which is there, that the act, study, which is a work, is the act of eating, texting, and watching television with an open textbook nearby. It should not be that way, because studying in itself is a whole activity, right? So what I mean by this is that it should not be that way. When you are studying, doing something else hand in hand, if you are watching television, or if you are texting somebody, or if you're eating, then in that way it just leads to memory distortion, because there are two sets of information which you're conceiving at the same time, and that leads to memory distortion eventually.
So, Molly, talking about self satisfaction, self happiness, and motivation, the need to study, how you can focus on it occasionally has been a state of happiness. So, when you depict move on kar bhai, so we already know a lot of times that we are stuck at a place that I did not score well, or possibly giving after an examination, I did not do this question well. And the children are really stuck at the thought they're not able to concentrate on their next examination. As we already discussed, there are a few days in between a date sheet that we need to maintain in the very beginning of the session. How do I specifically move on, and how has been it your technique of moving on?
So, like, basically being fixated at one failure is very unhealthy. What I realized, even if I made this mistake, I always have this thought in my mind, कि अब क्या, अब तो हो गया. So when I think this, I mean is that अब तो हो चुका है, so now you cannot do anything about it. And once it's done, you cannot do anything about it, and then why are you worrying about it? So, if I make a mistake in an exam or anywhere in life also, there's always like, तो क्या अब तो हो गया. अब क्या अब तो हो गया is like, one thing which comes like rings in my head again and again. Okay, now it's done, you can't do anything about it, so stop regretting about it also.
So if we stop regretting and yes, of course, focus on the future prospect of it, we are specifically going to be able to focus much better. Right. So as we talk about the studying part and finally been focusing on a lot of things, Molly, can you mention a little bit more about taking breaks? Exam becomes really stressful, and the students really fear of taking breaks, and sometimes it has been considered as wasting time. So how do we discipline those breaks as a part of a success? Because what exactly we discussed also, that number of times we feel that you're going to join back after a break, but we don't, because we are so indulged into the social media, or we are just scrolling out, and you're not able to maintain that academic progress because of the same of various kinds of distractions around us.
Yeah, so basically, I very specifically mentioned discipline breaks. A break does not necessarily mean that you're going to be scrolling social media or anything. A break should be a very relaxing experience, and social media is not relaxing on your brain, on your in your head at least. So taking a break has to be, something like which is very deeply personal, like talking to your mom or listening to music or walking in a balcony, like connecting with nature. These are, a very, very very small things, but these can actually be really, really discipline breaks. Discipline breaks. I also talked about setting social media alarms. That like, if I want to be on social media, I'll do it for 10 minutes and then set an alarm, and after that I'll go back
Mm,
to studies. So
very nice.
disciplinary breaks are very important.
Very nice. I think social media alarm is very important. We do have certain applications in our cell phone these days. I think the applications today, its time has been getting updated, and they give us an option where to put up a full stop. So I can maintain my time. And yes, of course, they give us an option that yes, you can just snooze off your phone for a certain period of time. There's a do not disturb category as well in your cell phones, which helps you set up a timeline that yes, I'm not supposed to be basically keeping my phone certainly switch off, because yes, of course, there's a notification coming time and again. So I need to maintain that peace and my mind where I need to take that breaks very effectively. So, Molly, how has discipline breaks helped you excel in your success further?
For me personally, I always took breaks as, like something which I look forward to. Not something which does not make me look forward to studies, but something which I look forward to after studies. So, those are the two aspects of it which you need to rule out and understand. So, discipline breaks have always helped me to get back on track, start studying again, always has increased my uh, freshness of my brain and increased my span of attention. So, these have been really helpful for me personally.
Very nice. And so, dear audience, it is very important that you maintain these kinds of techniques at the basics. We are at the nearing end of the session. So, audience watching, children, please put up your questions. Molly is there to answer you all. We look forward to answering your questions, and she is very wisely mentioning and explaining her thoughts and views and how difficult her journey has been. As it always looks out in the merry part, there is a difficult struggle behind it also, which possibly everybody of us needs to learn. So in the chat box you can give your comments, any questions that you further would like to ask her. Molly's here to answer, especially students, those who have been actually aiming and excelling for the board examination. We really wanted to, we really look forward to hear from you all. So, Molly, as you already have given a lot of life updates and ways to study, before we move on to the question and answer section, one last question from my side. As you are an ISC student, and the way the world is very different in our country, it's a competition between the CBSE and the ISC. How has the competition between the two basically affected you, or specifically, you must have heard the difference in ISC and CBSE. So, what is your take on it? How do you view both of them differently?
Yeah, so basically, I have been a CBSE student also. I studied in CBSE board since
Oh, right.
from
Oh, wow, great.
first to eighth grade, I think, for 8 years. And then I
Okay.
switched to ISC board, ICSE and ISC from 9 to 12. So I think I'm quite qualified to comment on this at least. That CBSE board and ICA board both have their pros and cons. Both have the pros and cons in their own forte. But at the same time, when I talk about ISC board, it's more like having selected topics but going in extreme depth of them. And CBSE board is having a lot of topics but brushing them, to the student. So, because I studied NCRT books for my CUET as well, and then I studied my publication books for the ISC board for my board exams as well. So, in those two, like the biggest difference which I could sort out is that, especially in my humanities syllabus, was that in CBSE board there's a topic and they write one or two paragraphs about it and they're just done with it. And they've explained the topic. It's very short and crisp and it's brief, right? But there are so many topics that they're touching. When it comes to history, they have a book for ancient history, medieval history, and modern history, right? But in ISC board, we just have modern history, but we have that modern history in so much depth that you know everything. everything about it. So that is like the main difference which you can sneak out in both of these boards. Both have their pros and cons. CBSE is going to introduce you to a bigger world, you can say, but ISC is going to give you a better introduction of the world which it introduces you to.
Okay, so we have a differentiation between the CBS and the ISC board. Both the boards have been quite prominent and applicable across the country. And yes, of course, abroad as well. We have been following the same. So ISC board and the CBSE has a different part of their lives, and we have a different depiction. ISC books are way detailed, way elaborated, but at the same time, CBSE gives a quite a general overview and quite number of explanations. So more topics been added up in the CBSE, whereas ISC basically focuses on few topics and mean more elaborated content. So it's the difference between the quantities that we have been actually seeing with reference to the chapters, and yes, of course, the length of how an explanation goes in. Yes, Molly.
Yeah, so as I like mentioned, I was just agreeing to you that yeah, CBSE as it's in the diagram as well. Uh, Life is a lie, and I see existence in the 21st century, nothing but the curtain of an illusion shielding up to the gossip. Like this, these are also like mentioned in the memes as well. That there was this one meme that a CBSE student is gonna ask their mother by saying, "Mom, I'm hungry," but an ISC student is gonna be like, "Let it be known to the mother, birth giver, that my stomach consists of emptiness." This is a very very famous meme. So I think that that's actually a true metaphor for what the actual reality about the boards is.
Correct. Very nice, Molly. We are nearing to the end, and I think that's the last part of it. Post your explanation and your ways of studying and your ways of dealing with social media, how the children can basically take a few pointers from here. I think that's one of the most important things to ask. How do you personally maintain your happiness while preparing for an examination? As you mentioned about the COT, also you mentioned about the CBSE board and ISC. You have been from both the brackets, so you can very easily and understand the difference between the two. So, what is your way of excelling, maintaining happiness, being social, being with your friends at the same time, along with maintaining every other thing in your personal life? Plus, topping, of course, yes, being exceller in that regard.
One thing which I was very religious about is that I never wanted to miss out on my family time while I was having my examinations. I made it a point that I talked to my mom. I made a point that if my cousins are over, then I went and talked to them. Not necessarily that I'm completely with them and like completely ignoring studies as well, but never to let go of your social life, because in a way, social life is becoming a more negative association when it comes to student life, that students should not have social life. But I think social life is eventually what gives you happiness, because we are social beings. So being connected with your family, with the littlest things, with nature, with music, these are the things which actually brings happiness, and these are things which actually lifted my mind as well.
So, we are in a process of learning, and yes, of course, we have certain ways. So, Molly is here to give you the final takeaway that how you need to maintain that happiness in your life. So, Molly, a little bit more on the last part of it, that how do we remain happy as a student?
Yes, so like as we can see in the poster as well, happiness, how to promote happiness for students in school. So gratitude practice. I think I have seen a lot of people who maintain gratitude diaries as well. That if you're feeling grateful towards something, then you write it in the diary. And when you write it in the diary, you're actually communicating to the universe or to the higher being that you are grateful for this opportunity to be able to study at the first place. So, gratitude is something which can be really helpful. A very supportive and a very nurturing community is really important for happiness in your life. Being in a circle where everybody is really motivating. I am really fortunate to be having people in my life who are always and always supportive of my decisions rather than being jealous of my successes. So having a very nurturing community is really, really helpful. Goal setting also brings you a lot of happiness. As I mentioned, the to-do list as well. When you maintain a to-do list, that satisfaction of cutting something off a to-do list, that is happiness. That is supreme happiness for a student, honestly. And then environment, being connected to nature, I remember every single day, if I woke up at 5 a.m., I would go and I would watch the sunrise. I would, sit in my balcony for 10 minutes and I would actually look at the plants, listen to the birds. These are something which can really refresh your brain and like give you a really nice start to the day. Mindfulness, being mindful and vigilant of your decisions, because happiness is also in the routine that you follow. If you have completely doom scrolled one day, then you're not going to feel happy about it, and that is going to have an inverse impact on your studying routine as well. So if you're mindful about what you're doing, then you will feel happy that you're actually mindful at the first place. And then learning new things like, following your hobbies or always investing in something which you do not know. Learning, as somebody also mentioned, learning is a lifelong experience. So when you get to learn new things, those new things can also bring a lot of happiness in your life.
So I think students, the world is all yours. You need to take away the happiness, win your own ways. There are ways that makes you comfortable and easygoing, but yes, of course, you need to accept and adjust to it accordingly. That how it is going to be helpful to you, and there are different ways of maintaining happiness. It's just your own choice which makes it comfortable for you. Write it down, speak it out, talk to your friends, move out, go out with the families, spend times. But at the same time, yes, of course, not to be feeling really out of the world, not to be feeling that you're nobody's there to hear you. We have people around us. We need to be finding up the people those who we can share to. There are a number of ways that you can maintain your happiness and score well in your academic success. And in this journey today for the session, Molly has beautifully quoted a number of pointers which basically helps you. It's a mind map for you for a journey ahead in the academic progress, how you can be complaining less, being smiling more, maintaining a worry-less environment, but at the same time, yes, of course, feel happy about yourself. That's the most important thing when in a part of a journey where you need to feel happy while whatever it is, even if it is a low scorer, even if it is a question unattempted, even if it is a paper left, or even if it is a paper wrongly attempted, right? It's just a small part of a bigger journey. And in the longer run, you're not going to remember all these things. All that you're going to remember is to live a better life, to be happy and contented for whatever you have it. And of course, for your family. That's really important. And beautiful highlights Molly has given to us today, which is really remarkable. And hearing from her comes out to be really personal also, because when it is been something that has been felt, makes more impact and act as an inspiration to a number of them. So Molly, as we are nearing the end, we have few questions coming up, and I think you are going to be answering them really promptly, because we have viewers who really want to hear from you. So over to you, Molly. How has your preparation, Ms. Varsha wants to ask you, how has your preparation for the school exam going to be different from the university examination? And how have you formed any strategy for the college life? Because it's the world is different at the school, at the college platform. Yes, Somali.
Yeah, so thank you, Varsha, for that question. College life, I'm still in the process of figuring out my college life because it's a very hustle. I've had a very jam-packed week in the past week. I don't know, I have this feeling that I haven't been as responsive to Diviya ma'am also as much as I would have liked to be, because when I commit myself to something, I like to be really in it. I hope I lived up to those expectations. And obviously, I'm still learning in college life. I'm figuring it out because in college you don't have just one book to refer to. In school you always have that one book.
Correct.
So I'm trying to refer to a lot of sources. I'm trying to get binders, readings, and everything, and to be able to figure out how can I actually uh, prepare for my college exams accordingly.
So how does the world feel different from being in Gwalior to Delhi now, Molly? How do you feel that the school life and actually it's two perspectives change. The school life has changed to the college life, as well as you have changed your city. So how the world is treating you now?
The world has been fairly good to me, I think, in Delhi. But obviously, Delhi is a metro city, Gwalior is not. So, just living in a much larger city with much larger opportunities, with much diverse people, with much diverse languages, food, everything. It changes and it always comes with a learning experience, because when I go back, I'll obviously have a lot of experience. Experiential learning with me, which is going to be, like really helpful lifelong.
Would you like to share something regarding your school journey as well? How has the school framed you or helped you and giving you responsibility of a head girl that's been quite prominent role in the school academics? How has it helped you to frame the overall journey of yours?
Um, I've been really fortunate because when it comes to school, I think my school gave me like immense opportunities. I am the person I am because of both of the schools that I've studied in. Both of these schools has been, like really building blocks of my personality. If I'm able to sit on the screen and speak confidently to you and to everybody who's watching, it is solely and solely because of all the opportunities that I was provided in my school life in Ryan and in Neoteric both, because I've always been a public speaker. I've done script writing. I've hosted functions for them. So these are the experiences which has really led me up to here, and maybe in the future it will help me as well.
Very nice. So I think that the discipline required for it and the opportunities that have been given to you has been because of your sincerity. And of course, the school has seen the spark in you because of which they could rely on you, and has actually added up a lot of value. Uh, yes, of course, the school plays a key role in terms of modifying the child, but at the same time, you have reflected your best skills forward, and that is why the school could recognize you and given you those kinds of the council responsibilities where they actually show you as an example for the school.
Thank
It's
you,
really
ma'am.
nice. So that discipline children has been very important as you lead further. So Molly, during your time as a topper, we have another question coming up by Miss Bindya. If toppers weren't toppers, what skill or habit would still make them successful?
Basically, every single skill and every single habit is a topper. We have a topper in every. See, topping an exam is not necessarily becoming a topper. So I think it is wrongly assumed. This perception of being a topper associated with just academics. So you can be a topper in sports, you can be a topper in music, in singing, in drama. There's so many things. The world is so big and there's so many opportunities everywhere. And you can be a topper in your own forte, in your own field. So um, every single skill and habit can lead you to become a topper.
Correct. Very nice. Yes, very true. I really vouch on this one as well, Molly. So next we have is we always have to try to learn new things, and that's a skill I think that is really important for us to be building up any possible aspects of our life, any possible stream or any possible subject for that matter. Anything that we're doing is helping us learn and grow only by the means of learning.
True.
And that is why we discuss throughout the session what are the different ways to learn and modify our lifestyle patterns that can help us excel and score a 95 plus, which possibly most of us are targeting on because the board examination itself is a big stress for us. Coming up next question we have is okay, so we have an appreciation coming over. Right, Ms. Sanskriti mentioned the session has been immensely helpful and very well delivered, a commendable approach and initiative. So, congratulations, Polly. So, the audience has been able to reach out to you, and your words have been actually reaching to them.
Thank
That's the
you.
most the beauty of how we can actually connect and interact. Next question coming up is which subject has been your favorite during your studies, school times, and what do you plan for your future studies or career with the favorite subject?
See, the thing with me is that whatever subject I start studying, it start becoming my favorite and my least favorite at the same time. So, with the process of studying is always very fun for me. So, if I start studying history, I love studying history. If I start studying political science, I love studying political science. So, it keeps on fluctuating for me and has been like that since my childhood. One subject which I did not like is math, and that has been similar throughout my life. But apart from that, all of my subjects has been my favorite. But to quote a few, I think I really, really enjoyed studying history, especially in this board exam duration, because of the same wall that I created. It was a really fun activity to scribble on my wall all day.
Very nice. So I think we have our own preferences, and everybody has their own sense of enjoyment when they are being enjoying. It can be basically academic, it can be non-academic as well. And personal choices should always be appreciated, whatever they may be. That's really important for your personal growth, of course. Okay, we have another one interesting question coming up here. Mr. Sandeep has been asking, how do you feel about being an imposter syndrome? Like maybe you're not good enough. So, for the audience, I would like to mention what an imposter syndrome is. It's basically an idea or a feeling that you're not good enough, right? You feel a self doubt and anxiety and burnout, feeling that I am not capable enough, I'm not able to match up to that skill. And it usually happens most commonly among the children, feeling competitive. They are not being able to maintain a good value with this, and that usually happens is because they feel that I have not done as much I should have been doing. And one most common reason is the comparison that usually comes. It can be by the parents, it can be by the teachers, or it can be a self comparison mode also, that I compare myself. As we discussed also, we compare ourselves with the toppers. So that's an imposter syndrome. So Molly, your take on this, how do you feel about the imposter syndrome?
Like, obviously, at times I've also felt that I'm not good enough. Maybe I could have done better and something like that. But these are just, small ups and downs of a longer process we are in. So if you never feel regret or imposter syndrome, if you never feel bad about your performance, then you never get the motivation to perform better as well. So these are the things which actually goes hand in hand. So obviously I felt them, but I've always tried to overcome them as well.
Yes, and there are ways and techniques to overcome it. That your students watching, you need not be feeling bad about every other thing that has been possibly coming in a way. We need to be limit down. We need to learn where to draw a fine line in terms of your expectations and the worldly expectations, of course. I need to know what is the task, and how am I able to achieve it. Comparison basically deteriorates your own quality, and the best possible that you can actually do, you're not been able to reflect on yourself. That's a really important skill for us to learn, and that is where these are some of the warning signs that we are having of an imposter syndrome. Very nicely quoted by Mr. Sandeep here. He has raised up a very important issue. It's very common among the students, and usually children forget that how we need to overcome with this. Yes, of course, it's not about being lucky, it's about hard work. It's about the kind of dedication that you dedicate yourself in, and certain warnings which possibly every children should be looking forward to. Being an imposter syndrome, overcome it by merely feeling happy about the things that you actually have, and most importantly, not compare. It is actually going to give you more confidence. And I think we have a live example here. Molly herself has been the one who is been sharing her how she has overcome with this kind of a syndrome itself. Okay, right. One more question that we can take. Humans have a tendency to count their mistakes and keep thinking what went wrong. It's important to switch around and start asking what we did right. Some things that you did right that makes you what you are today, right? So the self doubt technique that is been there among students, they usually do this kind of thing that they feel really doubted about themselves. Yeah.
Thank you for that question, first of all. So basically, we all have this tendency to, focus on the negative aspect of something. It is a natural human tendency because, when everything is going fine, we feel that it is fine, but we never really gratify it to the world that it's going fine. And once something is wrong, we start, blaming others, blaming ourselves, maybe blaming God, blaming everybody, because we never like to take that blame upon ourselves. We try to dislocate that kind of regret and that kind of remorse that we feel. So, obviously, expressing your gratitude is the best way, I think, to actually,
Mm.
um, focus on the positive aspect of something, to be a positive person in general, have a positive energy with yourself. And that's what you bring into a room when you walk into it, then that is the best kind of energy you can possibly possess.
I think this is really important, which Molly has mentioned here. The feeling of gratitude. We feeling that really happy about ourselves is very important, because many of the times we forget what is been basically important to us, how it has been useful to us, and how we have gained over our access to the world. So that's really important. Gratefulness and gratitude is one of the keys which is actually going to really excel. Even children should be writing down their gratitude pointers, that how it has excelled them and made them important in the future perspective. So to summarize it all, that summarization being the student life rather than being a certain subject, it's the one who walks for a joy will always walk further than the one who walks only for a reason. Very well said. So, Molly, appreciation pouring in for your thoughts. I think before we conclude, we can take one last question that's coming from me. Okay, what is that one mistake you did or you made even as a topper that should be avoided? I think that's the last thing that everybody should be hearing from you before we conclude today.
Okay, let me think about it. I think one mistake that I made is sometimes I became really excessively uh, you know, uh, I also like I talked about it, but I've also been a part of that loop cycle where I'm constantly studying, sleep deprivation, starvation. I've been a part of it, and I regret it because once I made those changes in my life, my result got better. So I think that's one mistake that I made. So working on my routine and making sure that I, you know, uh, did proper time rationalization. That was something which really helped me. And obviously, that was a mistake which I was making earlier. I have also been that student who has, like studied just one day prior to the exam and slept for 2 hours and went and given the exam. We have all been there at some point of our life. So that's one mistake that I made, which you should not.
Very nice. So that's really important for everybody. Self-discipline should not feel like a punishment. Has any other possible time you felt that this self-discipline has become a punishment for you, Molly? Did you feel so?
Honestly, no, because once you get into that motion, then that is when it actually hits you. That is when you actually understand the importance of it. So, sitting here right now, when you have never been that disciplined in your life, when you have never been in that routine, you don't know how it feels to be in it. But once you're in it,
Right.
you start understanding that, yeah, this is how it should be. And like, there's nothing, punishing about it. It feels like it's punishing, but once you have, adapted your body for it, then it's not a punishment. It's a routine.
Right. And that is what we began with, the routine versus the timetable. Because this is going to give you an example and it is setting an example for you that how we can actually balance and maintain our lives. And yes, of course, for that, one very important thing is specifically the gratitude. Right? So please do maintain children. It's a very important skill. We usually forget it in our journey of our life that we should be thankful and grateful about the things around us. And that's one skill that it usually helps us build up a lot more than we actually think of. So we conclude with the thought process that yes, gratitude is the key takeaway for the session. That yes, of course, the things will come and go, and life is actually going to be a tough one, and many times it is going to be easy as well. But at the end, it is always the gratitude that is more important, and the way we look at life, it beautifies the kind of thought process, the people around us, and yes, of course, our journey through the struggles that we go through, even if it is social media or academics or studies or basically maintaining a co-curriculars. Life is way beautiful ahead rather than these challenges. They're just mere part of your life going to be staying for a very long, but not going to be staying for a very long time, of course. And that's how the journey is. It's beautiful, and let's embrace it the way it is. So Molly, this has been a really, it's a phenomenal success of yours. It's really applaud worthy, and we're really happy for you to be connected today. I'm really glad that you could take out the time. You asked for a certain time where you actually can be dedicating post your college hours, of course. And you have made it a point each and every day. She has been pinging me and messaging me that this is addition, this is the topic I want to be talking. The dedication and the resilience that you are actually having shows in your personality. It's an imbibed skill. And once it is an imbibed skill, I think the life becomes way smoother and it's way ahead of our challenges and the problems that we face, actually.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So, Molly, really grateful and thankful to you on this
Same,
part.
same, same.
Any takeaway and the last takeaway that you would like to mention to the audience before I propose the vote of thanks?
Last takeaway is that enjoy your life. Studying and some failures are not the end of the world, and you always have time to work on yourself because life is longer than you think it is.
Very nice.
Obviously,
Grateful to you, Molly.
I want to
Yeah,
thank ma'am specifically for having me in this session. It was a really informative and a nurturing experience for me as well, and it's super 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 nice. It's always and always and always a pleasure to be connected with you because you're an amazing
same
person,
here,
an
Molly.
amazing mentor.
Same here, Molly. It has been always an honor to be a part of your journey and always been interacting with you. There's another joy whenever I interact with you, I talk with you. So it's because of the kind of a personality that you carry. And we really enjoy the fact that specifically you have come out as a beautiful person. So
Thank you,
that's
ma'am.
why we really feel that yes, we have actually been a part of a good journey ahead. Of course, we will be connected, and really best wishes to you, and really
Thank you so
we're
much,
grateful
ma'am.
for you for taking out time for the audience, for the children, those who are watching. They're sharing and the learning experience with you, of course. This a journey that we'll all live together, and that's why it is important that we learn from each other.
Thank
So
you,
thank you,
ma'am.
Molly, for taking out time. As we come to close to this inspiring session. It is my honor to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of Educational Connect with DM. First and the foremost, my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished guest, Miss Molly, for joining us today. Molly, your journey from the beginning of a topper in the school to a path of the further into getting into the University of Delhi today has been nothing short of inspiring. Yeah, it has reminded us that how beautifully your journey can further be actually framing out a lot of beautiful minds and reminding a fulfilling future in the coming years ahead. So your personal insights have given the audience not just guidance but also the motivation to pursue what the further future skills are in there. So your determination and your skills and your ability and your communication skills, of course, have actually given a very clear path to the children been watching today. I'm sure it is going to be really inspiring and really thoughtful for them.
Thank you so much,
Thank you for
ma'am.
joining today. Thank you. Really, really grateful. Thank you, Molly, for joining.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day, ma'am.
Same to you, Molly. Wishing you the same best wishes.
Thank you, ma'am. Same. Best wishes.
Dear audience, thank you for your active participation, the questions, and the energy throughout the session. Remember that the journey ahead in the academic progress is not limited to the mindsets that is basically discipline, the clarity of thought, and the courage to stand. Yes, of course, there are certain lifestyle changes we need to be doing it. And of course, we need to be doing from a very small extent. And that's for today. So when you start small, but think big. And yes, of course, the future and the world is awaiting you. It's not always about the academic success or just scoring the 95 plus. But yes, of course, individually framing yourself into an beautiful individual who can stand to be a helpful person to anyone, who can be a shoulder to cry on, who can be setting an example that yes, whatever you're doing can be excelled and been done in the most beautiful and the best way possible. So thank you for joining today. A big thank you as well to the educational team who's working behind the scenes to make this today's program possible, being successful, the days in and out for making it a progress and bringing out this beautifully curated documentation further forward. And finally, as your host, I leave you with this thought. A topper is not being defined only by marks, but by the consistency, the humility, and the resilience they carry forward in their life. Molly, today you have shown exactly the same that has been required for you to frame yourself as an individual. Together, we build this world. This is Diviya Mehra signing off with gratitude and inspiration. See you out in the next session. Namaskar.